Welcome! This is another video in my NIV Bible reading series. NIV stands for burped a little bit. NIV stands for New International Version. And in this video, I will be reading through Exodus chapter 14. And in the last chapter, it's just talking more about laws, that ceremonial laws and stuff like that. Mainly, it was more about the ceremonial laws and stuff that the Jews had to follow back then when they first exited Egypt. And as far as I maybe up until Jesus' arrival and stuff, I'll get more into that near the end of the video, depending on what 14 says. All right. But yeah, if you're on YouTube, if you like what you're hearing or seeing, then or want to know more, the first few seconds of the video, there's a card in the right hand corner. Click it; it'll take you to the playlist, and it'll have everything in the NIV translation that I've done. And yeah, if you're on Rumble, don't know what to tell you. There may be playlists, there may be not. I don't know. Hopefully there are, because I'd like to see Rumble succeed, because I got stock in Rumble. That's already down like 30%. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's not what this video is about. But hopefully it'll come back. I only got like $30 into it. But yeah. Anyway, chapter 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea. They are to encamp by the sea, directly opposite Baal-zephon. Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion, hemmed in by the desert. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. But I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." So the Israelites did this. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, the Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds about them and said, "What have we done? We have let the Israelites go and have lost their services." So he had his chariot made ready and took his army with him. He took 600 of the best chariots along with all the other chariots of Egypt, with officers over all of them. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so that he pursued the Israelites, who were marching out boldly. The Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, horsemen and troops, pursued the Israelites and overtook them as they camped by the sea near Pi-hahiroth, opposite Baal-zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you'll see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water, so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them, and I will gain glory through Pharaoh and all his army, through his chariots and his horsemen. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord then when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen." Then the angel of God, who had been traveling in front of Israel's army, withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved from in front and stood behind, coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel. Throughout the night the cloud brought darkness to the one side and light to the other side, so neither went near the other all night long. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their right and on their left. The Egyptians pursued them, and all Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen followed them into the sea. During the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. He made the wheels of their chariots come off, so that they had difficulty driving, and the Egyptians said, "Let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen." Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak the sea went back to its place. The Egyptians were fleeing toward it, and the Lord swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen. The entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. What? Oh, the water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, and the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. But the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. That day the Lord saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. And when the Israelites saw the great power the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. And that's chapter 14. So I ain't got to say anything more about the law after 14. In addition to after 14 is concluded. So basically, this is the last time I'm probably going to say it. Maybe I haven't gone past 15. 15 is the last one I've read. But the ceremonial laws that are described a little bit in 14. I think. Well, I guess I'll just say it anyway since I've already started. Basically, a little bit, maybe a little bit in 14, but at least in like the ceremonial law that's described in when the Exodus actually happens, where they leave Egypt and stuff like that, and stuff like the Passover and stuff where you don't eat bread with yeast and all that stuff for 7 days and all that stuff, and then those rules were for the people of that. Those rules were for pre-New Testament people, so pre-Jesus's coming. So yeah, so once Jesus came, all those rules were gone, because Jesus became the new Lamb. Became the Lamb, yes, and also the second Adam and all that other stuff. But yeah, so basically, as Christians, you don't follow the ceremonial law. You are, however, you're still supposed to not commit adultery, lie, steal, stuff like that. Become cheat on your wife, whatever. And stuff like that. So it's just a ceremonial law. The ceremonial laws are nullified, and but as far as that, what is being given in that portion, and stuff like that. So yeah, I wanted to clarify that. Once again, third video I've done that, and I think that's enough laws for now. I see. Like I'm looking ahead to Mount Sinai, the Ten Commandments. As far as I know, those are you still follow those. The Ten Commandments. So yeah. Anyway, that's it. I'm gone.